gross, explicit lyrics or over-sexualized scenes on TV. Well, liberals responded with, oh, just change the channel. But today, they have a current case of amnesia because they're now the new censors. And the offending content? Christmas songs.
The character in the song is saying no, and they're saying, well, does no really mean yes? And I think in 2018, what we know is consent is yes.
Did you see in that video how she tries to leave and he grabs her arm and then she looks at her arm and then he closes the thing and says you can't leave? I mean, that part is somewhat coercive. I mean, I have to say it's making me rethink.
This song?
Yeah, it is making me rethink it.
I'm rethinking a lot of things, too, after watching Nora's comment there. All right, baby, it's really cold outside. Well, notice how the left, they don't want to place any limits on what is truly objectionable content. You know, hip-hop, rap, some of the worst stuff, which routinely objectifies women, demonizes law enforcement, and celebrates things called murder. But instead, they seek to put the darkest spin on part of our American musical tradition. The left has no problem with performances like these. But Baby It's Cold Outside is a national disgrace. Thankfully, not everyone is thrilled, though, about where the politically correct crowd is taking us.
Not me.
I'm going to go back and... Okay.
No, so I mean, so we just have to agree to disagree. I just think that it's a light, flirtatious song, and she clearly doesn't seem to be so upset. Keep looking at the whole darn song before you make a decision. I'm so irritated by this.
So my guess.
People, sit down. We are losing our sense of humor nowadays.
Bingo, Gayle King. Now, even Christmas specials, we used to look forward to them every year. They only played once a year, and it made them even more special. Even those specials aren't safe from the liberal blacklist. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer has been singled out by the Huffington Post as seriously problematic. Have they watched TV recently? People are being sexually assaulted and brutalized 24/7, HuffPo. But a 54-year-old claymation reindeer sends them all to the crying room? Well, actually, scenes like this are quite harrowing.
From now on, gang, we won't let Rudolph join in any reindeer games, right?
I love the little whistle around his neck. Well, sorry, but I think I have to take a moment here. I think just seeing that scene may have triggered my PRSD, post-Rudolph stress disorder.
All right, son, try it on.
I don't wanna. Daddy, I don't like it.
You'll like it and wear it. Now, there's one thing I want to make very plain. No doe of mine is going to be seen with a red-nosed reindeer.
Summon the grief counselors. Oh, and by the way, they say it's sexist because Rudolph's dad, of course, you see, tells his wife that the search for their son is man's work. So she can't go out in the cold. He'll go find Rudolph. You stay here on the home front, honey. Now, this is a beloved Christmas special and the longest continuously running one as well. But do you see what liberals seek to do? They're trying to disrupt and destroy traditions and replace them with their own version of some transitory nonsense. By seeing dark forces and even an innocent Christmas special, they divide us with the goal of ripping away yet another little innocuous thing that families have enjoyed for more than a half a century. But nothing fun and traditional is off limit, I'd say for any of these censorious liberals. Years ago, they started complaining that Charlie Brown, that Christmas special, was offensive too, because it was too Christian.
The angel said unto them, Fear not, for behold, I bring you tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto you is born this day in the city of David a Savior, which is Christ the Lord.
I still cry when I see that. Never could be made today. By the way, any day I'm expecting that PETA is going to lodge a complaint about Dr. Seuss's The Grinch. After all, that green guy with the attitude didn't treat Max the dog very well. Now, the left are the worst types of moralists because they claim not to be. They talk about tolerance and diversity and being your authentic self. I'm going to speak my truth. But what they really want is for you to bow down and worship at their altar of self-righteous political correctness. They want to control what you watch, what you eat, what you hear, and yes, how you speak. And even, as we saw during the Bush 41 funeral yesterday, how you pray.
I just point out that at this moment, the Apostles' Creed being recited, President Trump and the First Lady not reading. Was that, everyone had the thing in their head, but they're not. What was that about, Sally?
Well, it's odd because, you know, he is this supposed religious person who has a spiritual advisor, Paula White, and he had them speak at, pray at his inauguration, and he has all these evangelicals around. So I thought that was bizarre that he didn't even try to read it.
First of all, Trump is considered a very religious person. I don't know what she's reading. But Sally Quinn, who is a journalist, who in her memoir described hexing 3 people, 2 of whom died. And she's going to demand that Trump recite a religious creed at a public ceremony or judge him? Let there no judgment. But again, this is the problem with the left. Depending on the politics of the moment, they go from being libertines to Puritans. The once aggressive seculars suddenly become religious enforcers. And these are the same people who, by the way, applauded when prayer was driven out of the public schools and who cheered when manger scenes were pulled from the public square. Forever crowing about how we need separation of church and state, a phrase found nowhere in any of our founding documents. My friend, today's left is blissfully unaware of how much they've become caricatures of what they accuse conservatives of being. They claim to be tolerant. They're among the most rigid, intolerant people on the planet. They claim to be pro-choice. That only applies to abortion, maybe your gender. They claim to be for creative expression, but they're control freaks and monoliths. They really what they want to do is stifle and marginalize conservative voices, whether they're on college campuses, in the workplace, in the U.S. military, or yes, right here on cable TV. And while they point the finger at Trump for being divisive, they're the ones working overtime to divide the country along lines of race, ethnicity, and sexual orientation, just to name a few. But above all, liberals have become aggressively boring and no fun at all. And that's the angle. Joining me now for reaction is attorney and RNC committee woman from California, Harmeet Dillon, Fox News contributor Raymond Arroyo, and CRO of D's Political, Jennifer Holdsworth. First of all, I want everyone to know that this is a safe space here. You can, we won't censor you like some of the liberals. Raymond, I want to start with you. There is a sense of fun and whimsy that seems to be missing in this whole political correctness moment that we've been living in for some time.
Well, jokes are out the door. You can't kid. And look, how do we get over difficult situations? How do we overcome and find connections with people we disagree with? We joke. We make fun of each other and ourselves. That is being pushed further and further out of society. You see it in some of the clips you played. You can't do a little racy or suggestive songs. This was a way in the 1950s that people interacted. It was a way to suggest something without gratuitously hitting you over the head with it. Now we're in a gratuitous age where you can't make the quiet side swipes, the fun jokes on the side. Everything's got to be very plain, very black and white. And frankly, it's a lot uglier out there today.
It's more divisive and not fun. Jennifer, this is what Jerry Seinfeld said a few years ago. He was on with Seth Meyers talking about what it's like to be on the comedy circuit. He's also said he will not perform on college campuses because talk about an unfun place these days. Let's watch.
I can imagine a time when people say, well, that's offensive to suggest that a gay person moves their hands in a flourishing motion and you now need to apologize. I mean, there's a creepy PC thing out there that really bothers me.
Jennifer.
I don't think it's so much about political correctness as it is to just being sensitive of what might really hurt someone. And, you know, look, when we talk about, you know, Christmas songs, I wouldn't necessarily put Baby It's Cold Outside in the realm of Christmas songs. You know, when you talk about liberals...
Oh, even if it's not.
Criticizing, you know, the way...
Is it played in June?
The way President Trump, you know, prays, you know, this is a president who was sitting less than a foot away from another president who, you know, a lot of conservatives conservatives talked about being a Muslim for the last decades as if there was something wrong with that. So I think when we talk about turning the tide of the national conversation into something that's a little less offensive, it doesn't have to do with political correctness. I would like to see what conservatives would have said had it been President Obama who did not recite the Apostles' Creed when the entire rest of the church
I
did.
think one of the things that's different here is that conservatives actually try to say we want to conserve the culture. We want to conserve that. What makes us different is okay. It's okay to be different. It's okay to have different points of view. But what I'm trying to get to, Jennifer, and you didn't quite seem to understand what I'm saying, is that in this world of if you're offended, I can't say it. I can't even feel it for fear of losing my job, not getting a promotion, and not getting a benefit in the workplace. People are afraid to speak their minds. That is not liberal. That's scary. And that's censorious. That's what the left always considered conservatives. Harmeet Dillon.
Yeah, absolutely, Laura. I mean, conservatives are not in the business of critiquing how people pray. I just think that's crass, and he prayed the way and he felt comfortable doing, and it's not our business to critique that. But what I see on college campuses and in workplaces where I do a lot of litigation is that people are constantly censoring themselves, walking around on eggshells. Young people are actually doing consent videos before they move to second base with a girl so that they don't get sued, and it's really sucking all the joy out of life. And
romance.
And romance. And if I were a young person these days, I mean, I would be like stressed out and having to take all the drugs they take now because they're always worried about what the new rules are.
I mean, are you saying that consent is sucking the joy out of romance? Because
no,
that's
what I said was making a video to document the consent is sucking the joy out of interactions between the sexes.
The fear of being dragged before a board or the fear of litigation keeps boys from asking girls out, and vice versa in some cases, because they don't know where the lines are.
Oh, and the presumption of guilt. Don't forget about Title IX, which puts all the boys who looked at a girl in the box for years after hire lawyers.
There's definitely a conversation to be had about due process and what we need to do on college campuses, but I think a consent is a completely different conversation.
Raymond, you actually interviewed candidate Trump about his faith and
about prayer in particular.
About prayer, but again, liberals criticizing how someone decides to pray in the moment. That's wild to me.
You heard,
but I want to play what he said to you about his own prayer.
When you pray, what do you pray for?
I don't want to talk to you about that. I mean, I pray. It's very personal to me. I'm a person of belief, but I certainly, I pray for my family. I pray for our country, but I don't want to talk to you about that. I think that's very personal.
Okay, between you and God.
It is between me and God, yes.
I like the fact they didn't want to talk about it. Liberals are like, don't wear your religion on your sleeve. I get trashed for wearing this cross, by the way, over my cold.
I never get trashed for wearing my cross ever.
I do. Go to my Twitter feed.
Okay, but
you're a liberal. You can do whatever you want.
With apologies to the jewelry choices, ladies. The moment criticizing the man for not praying the creed, though, or reciting it. First of all, you're dealing with a man who I think is new to faith. He's working his way through it, and he's not ostentatious about it. But I would prefer someone. I would rather a faithful pagan who protects religious freedom and advances basic morality in our government over a pious fraud who assaults both.
And that's very,
very big difference.
But that's the difference that many faith-filled people had with President Obama. It was the policy, not the man.
The critics are secular humanists. They don't believe it themselves.
Criticizing the way somebody prays and pointing out hypocrisy in conservatives in terms of religion.
Why is quiet prayer?
Because liberals have been called godless for years when they have worshipped a variety of gods. And I think
that's a non sequitur. You're not arguing the point. The point is liberals claim that they're pro-choice, be who you want to be your authentic self, my truth. Trump is praying in the way he darn wants, and he gets trashed by Don Lemon. Don Lemon used to be someone I actually respected. Don Lemon has gone so far over the line. God bless him. I don't know what's going on with him, but you're so obsessed with trashing Trump that you got to trash him, at the moment when everyone's honoring George Bush. I don't understand that. I think it speaks so poorly of where this culture is, and I think it goes back to Jennifer. People are truly just afraid. They're afraid. They're afraid to speak, afraid to feel. Now, if you hum along to "Baby, It's Cold Outside," you might as well have raped somebody.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's gone way overboard, and it's just not fun. There's no fun. You can't. Can you really have fun? I guess you can smoke pot, do edibles, and then talk about how you might want to change your gender, and that's kind of interesting, I guess. But you can't do much else. I guess play sports. What I mean, honestly, in the public life, it's very hard. Jerry Seinfeld is right. Humor is dead, and that's why they're going to political humor and they trash Trump.
Well, we're moving to a secular dogma, which no one really knows. It's Pope Benedict coined the phrase dictatorship of relativism. Yeah. I think we're here.
All right,
it becomes its own dictatorship.
All right, thank you so much. And our next guest, by the way, joins us to expand on what we brought you in last night's angle. Well, the Democrats claim to be, they're the smart party. They're the science party, the intellectuals, all the you troglodytes who voted for Trump, clinging for your guns and religion and all that, the deplorables. You just need to sit down, shut up, and let the smart people run the country because things are very complicated. Well, last night we pointed that out to you, and sadly, the left and many of the GOP establishment smart set have been wrong on issue after issue for years. And today, well, they were just wrong on geography.
We can move forward with this. We have a responsibility, all of us, to secure our borders, north, south, and coming in by plane on our coast, 3 coasts, north, south, and west. And that's a responsibility we honor, but we do so by honoring our values as well.
Was she in REM cycle? Like, what was that? Here now, former GOP presidential candidate Herman Cain. Look, Herman, we all misspeak. I mean, okay, I've misspoken. It's not a big, I don't want to, it's fun. We're trying to have some fun, poke fun at ourselves. And, there could be 3 coasts. Herman, what coast are you on right now?
I am on the east part of the nation. Allow me, Laura, for one moment. I want to respond to Jennifer, your previous guest, before we get into our topic. Okay? The Constitution says freedom of religion, which means also freedom to read and freedom to not read if you don't want to.
It also means freedom from religion, sir.
Where's that?
Allow me to speak, please. You had your chance to say what you wanted to say. I have been in a different religious setting than my normal setting, and I didn't pretend to do everything that they did because I wasn't comfortable doing it. So I remained silent, and I didn't read. Now the liberals want to make a big deal out of the fact that the man didn't read. Freedom of religion means, excuse me for getting a little passionate about this, also means freedom to not read if you don't want to. Now, Laura, the compilation that you put together last night was so impressive to me and my folk that I wanted to reproduce that clip on my website, HermanCain.com. It demonstrates without a question of a doubt how hypocritical that the Democrats are. And it demonstrates clearly, better than anything that I've ever seen, that they do believe that they are smarter than everybody else. This is why they are trying to destroy and change our culture from top to bottom. That's what they're trying to do. And you made that point very clearly by showing what they have said historically and what Senator Hirono
a lot of the Republicans have got, a lot of the Republicans have screwed up along the way as well. I mean, opening
that's exactly
China into the WTO, not worrying about the housing bubble, the housing crash.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot Iraq was all going to work out in a couple of years. None of that worked. Don Lemon said he wouldn't shake hands with Trump at the funeral. Is that a sign of openness or tolerance or? I mean, again, Don Lemon is, kind of a liberal guy, but he didn't want to shake hands. He wouldn't. If he were there, he wouldn't.
Laura, that is not a sign of tolerance. That is a sign of disdain and trying to enforce the liberal doctrine of you conform the way we want you to conform, or we are going to try to intimidate and ostracize you. That's what Don Lemon is talking about.
All right, I got to get to my Apostles' Creed here. I got to get to my Apostles' Creed, and I got to go to confession after this segment. All right, guys,
a funeral.
All right, thanks so much, Herman. And ahead, while the resistance cheers the Mueller probe, may have inadvertently ensnared former Clinton and Obama aides. Professor Jonathan Turley and Byron York next.